Hey everyone, I'm Wick. You know how people say life's a journey. And it's not about the destination, but about the scenery along the way, yeah. Well, whoever said that clearly never got struck by lightning. So I was supposed to be chilling at home today, binge watching Netflix or whatever. But fate decided to play a little prank on me. One bolt of lightning later, and bam. I wake up in, how do I even put this? Basically Africa. But like 200 million years ago. If anyone ever tells you getting struck by lightning is a rare event, trust me, they're right. But what's even more rare? Waking up and finding yourself lying in some completely foreign grasslands surrounded by massive creatures that you've only seen in museums. See those guys with necks 3 times longer than a giraffe? Those are Brachiosaurus. And that thing over there with teeth thicker than baseball bats sticking out of its mouth? That's a Stegosaurus. Welcome to my nightmare-level adventure. Being stuck in Jurassic Africa. Let me paint you a picture of this hellish place. First off, the air is muggy as hell. Like being in a sauna, with humidity at about 90%. Second, there are sounds everywhere that I can't even begin to understand. Some sound like bird calls, others sound like trucking. When I first woke up, my first instinct was to check if I was still alive. Felt for a heartbeat, wiggled my fingers, made sure I still had all my limbs. Then I realized there was a problem. My phone had no signal. Not only no signal, but the screen was completely dead. Then I heard footsteps. Not regular footsteps. I'm talking about those thud, thud, thud kind of steps where each one makes the ground shake a little. I turned my head and saw the absolute last thing I wanted to see in this lifetime. An Allosaurus. About 40 feet long. Taller than a 2-story building when it stood up. Its eyes were like car headlights, staring straight at me. In that moment, I wasn't thinking about running. I was thinking, what the hell did I do wrong for God to punish me like this? But then something even weirder happened. Just as that Allosaurus was about to make me its breakfast. A bunch of, how do I describe them? They looked like people, but not exactly like modern humans. These primitive guys, maybe 5 or 6 of them. Each one built like they'd been hitting the gym for 10 years straight. They had weapons made of stones tied to wooden sticks, and they were yelling at that Allosaurus. Then I witnessed the most epic battle of my entire life. 6 primitive humans versus one 40-foot dinosaur. This wasn't a movie. This wasn't CGI. This was happening right in front of me. That Allosaurus might have been huge, but these primitive dudes clearly had experience. In the end, the Allosaurus got injured and limped away. And these primitive humans turned around and looked at me with eyes full of confusion. I could tell they were thinking, where the heck did this weird guy come from? What happened next made me understand what good intentions gone wrong really means. These primitive humans saved me, and then they tied me up. I tried to communicate with them. English, hand gestures, I even tried singing, but they just stared at me and occasionally talked to each other in this language that sounded like ooh ah ooh ah. I started to suspect they might think I was some kind of weird animal. When we got to their camp, my feelings got even more complicated. On one hand, I was grateful they saved me. On the other hand, looking at the stuff on their barbecue that was definitely not deer meat, I started worrying about my future. The worst part? They put me in a cage made of tree branches. I know it was to protect me from nighttime predators, but being caged up really sucked. Especially when you can hear dinosaur roars in the distance. Just when I thought I'd be stuck in that cage forever, an unexpected visitor changed everything. A dog. In the Jurassic period, there was actually a friendly-looking dog. It wasn't a modern breed. more like some early canine species, but it was really nice to me. This dog seemed to understand my situation. It started visiting me every day, sometimes bringing fruit or small animals. The primitive humans tried to chase it away at first, but it was always clever enough to avoid them. Gradually, I discovered this dog wasn't just smart. It was useful. It could understand some of my simple commands, and more importantly, it seemed to know the dangers of this place. Whenever large carnivorous dinosaurs were approaching, it was always the first to get alert. On the 5th night, things took a turn. There was this deafening roar in the distance. Not your regular dinosaur call, but something I'd never heard before, something absolutely menacing. The primitive humans were obviously panicking. They started packing up, getting ready to move camp, and my dog friend ran up to my cage and started digging with its paws, trying to dig a hole for me to escape. That's when the owner of that voice showed up. A massive carnivorous dinosaur I'd never seen before, bigger than a T-Rex, with eyes that glowed green in the darkness. The primitive humans scattered and ran for their lives, while I was trapped in that cage, could only watch helplessly as that monster walked toward me. Each step made the earth shake, and its breathing sounded like a storm. At the critical moment, my dog friend successfully dug out a hole. The second I crawled out from the bottom of the cage, that giant dinosaur reached our location. I grabbed my dog and started the craziest run of my entire life. Running through a dark Jurassic forest while being chased by a prehistoric monster. This is an experience I really wouldn't recommend to anyone. That dinosaur was faster than I'd imagined. Not only was it huge, but it was agile too. I could hear it knocking down massive trees behind me. Trees that would take a dozen people to wrap their arms around looked like toothpicks to this thing. My dog friend kept barking in my arms, like it was giving me directions. Suddenly, it pointed its paw to the left, where there was a cave I hadn't noticed before. We rushed into the cave just as that dinosaur caught up. It tried to stick its head inside, but the cave was too small. It roared angrily outside for about 10 minutes, then left. In that cave, my dog friend and I spent the longest night ever. We kept each other warm, and for the first time, I truly felt how important it was to have a companion in this dangerous world. The next morning, when we came out of the cave, I found some footprints left by the primitive humans. They'd survived too, and seemed to be moving in a specific direction. I knew my adventure was just getting started. In this world full of danger but also wonder, I learned one thing. Sometimes the best friends don't need to talk. They just need to show up when you need them most. So, folks, if you want to know what else we're going to encounter in this Jurassic world, remember to subscribe to our channel. Trust me, this story is far from over. See you next time. Hopefully next time I'll have found my way home. Or at least found a hot cup of coffee.